So yeah, fame and viral and all that stuff. You know, $3 and that, and you can get yourself a cappuccino.
But I know what'll make you feel better.
Oh no, not another box of dogs!
It's another box of dogs!
All right, ladies and gentlemen, today I'm very proud to have a very special guest on the podcast. This man's been kicking it with the band X. That's Melbourne X. That's the Australian X, not the LAX. This guy's been kicking it for 45 years with X. I'm just waiting for him now to join me on the podcast. Steve Lucas.
Hey, finally.
Steve, how are you, man?
Good. Oh,
just to let you know, I'm recording already. I'll use later.
That's all right. I'm usually pretty well behaved.
Good stuff. So how you been? How was your gig on the weekend? You said you had a big gig.
It was huge.
Yeah.
It was just really nice because I didn't nick off after the sound check. Just hung around and sold a pile of leftover X-Aspirations 40th anniversary things. Talked to a lot of people. That was probably as much fun as the gig.
Yeah.
But yeah, there were people from Sydney from the late 70s, early 80s there. There was really young kids that looked like they're 18, 17, 18, that loved the record and that was sort of still surprised that anyone was still alive. It was nice talking to them, and there was everyone else in between.
Yeah.
And Maggie Pills were really good. Yeah, it was just a really good night. Yeah.
That's great. I miss that so much. That's one, like I left Melbourne during the lockdowns, or actually right at the end of the lockdowns. I really mistimed it. But
yeah.
But yeah, I miss the music scene a lot. There's a bit of a music scene here.
Where are you?
Mildura.
Oh my God. Okay. Yeah, that's that country.
Yeah.
Oranges, don't they grow out there?
Yeah, there's a place here called Orange World. You go out, you tour the oranges.
You take them a coffee, yeah. Well, is everything orange?
It's pretty orange. There's a lot of oranges. Your dude pays you around on the back of a tractor in like a big trailer, and he tells jokes all the way around. Really bad jokes. It's quite fun.
Good. I mean, that's one of the things I used to love driving around Australia, is going to the big banana or the big prawn or the big potato, or I don't know, whatever. If they could make it big, they would.
We do like our fruit.
Yeah. Yeah, and prawns.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen a big pavlova.
Really?
Yeah. Someone who used to be a big pavlova, yeah.
I've never heard of the big pavlova.
Yeah, I think they used to make pavlovas there in a building shaped like a pavlova.
Oh, nice.
Merino in Goulburn, now that I'm thinking about it, it's big everything's.
Big, yeah. We have a lot of big stuff here. Texas.
Yeah.
I was thinking before, actually, you really go against that whole the rock and roll lifestyle is bad for you kind of thing, because you're looking good and you're still killing it, man.
Well, yeah, I'm lucky. I've definitely abused myself in the past, but I just find moderation these days. I probably drink too much, but then again, I eat well, and I've got a good wife. She looks after me, so Yeah, I think I'll endure for quite some time yet.
Yeah.
A lot of some of the younger kids, I suppose I could call them fans now because they certainly seem in awe, but they were surprised that I could still belt them out.
Mm.
They thought that it might be a little bit wimpy vocally, but if anything, it's stronger.
Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty wild.
Bigger than Jesus to thank for that. That really pushed me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have quite a lung capacity. I did have a nasty bout in about 2019, ended up in hospital on a ventilator just before the COVID announcements.
Mm.
So they didn't know what was wrong with me, but even at my most pathetic, I still had 30% greater lung capacity for someone half my age. So
Really?
So yeah, maybe that's the secret to longevity, is being able to inhale a lot of air and keep the blood, oxygenated.
Well, oxygen. Yeah.
Yeah,
Does that give you the good scream, do you think?
it helps, because the thing that they like is that it's tuneful. It's not just a
Yeah.
sort of thing. It's actually pitched.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not a lot of people do that.
I was listening to your track the other day, Dare to Be Different.
Yeah.
I love the way it builds. Like you start off with just this really smooth voice.
Yeah, the crooner.
It's so good.
Yeah, I love doing that. I remember when At Home With You came out, the X record, and there was Degenerate Boy on it, and my vocals are really gravelly. And there's a take of Moving On that Lobby made me sing over and over again until my voice was totally shredded, till he got what he wanted, which was so painful for me that I can't even bear to listen to the track. I just feel the pain straight away as soon as I hear it. But so when I did Don't Cry No Tears, and it was all soft and like DeSoto, I think was the music term, everyone thought it must have been Ian because it didn't sound at all like me. But so when I do things like Dare to Be Different, part of it is because I think it suits the song, but part of it is to show that I'm not a one-trick pony. I can croon, I can belt it out, or I can gravel still, like the Bomp Bomp a Bump song.
Yeah.
Just whatever the song needs. Songs have characters. If you sing every song the same, there's no point in doing a different song.
True.
Mm.
I've worked on getting my gravel going, but I can only do it for a very limited time, and very often I'll push myself too hard to get the sound I want.
Yeah.
Away just going, all right, that's it. I'm not talking for the rest of the time.
Well, you just keep doing it, and it's like any other muscle in your body. The more you do it, the stronger it will get.
Okay.
When I was prepping for the Exasperations thing, and I listened to Waiting, again, my voice was so shredded. It was like 4 notes within one. It was like, wow, that's actually splitting off into. There's a term for that. I can't remember what it is. But I thought, oh, maybe if I had pursued it, I could have done that voice split thing. But too much effort. Back then it was just belt it out, move on, next gig. Oh, no more gigs. Okay, beer, scotch, whatever. Yeah. Something happened.
Yeah. I've heard scotch and brandy and cigars are good for the gravel voice. I don't know if that's true, but
I think the cigars would probably do more harm than good after a while, but I'd definitely advocate scotch or brandy. I drink a lot of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially lately. I don't know, maybe it's an age thing. I've thought I used to be a real fan of single malt scotch. I mean, still am.
Mm.
But when I was visiting my in-laws a while ago, they had some brandy and I had some. I thought, this is quite nice. It's very nice actually. So I think I drank about everything they had, and since then I can't bear the thought of there not being at least one bottle of brandy in the house.
Mm. It's a fine drink.
Yeah,
I like it.
have it
Yeah.
neat. You can have it in a coffee. You can, shot it. You can savor it. You can do whatever you want.
Yeah. I think the first time I had brandy was I was withdrawing from some really nasty stuff. And
Yeah.
my mother bought me a bottle of brandy. God love her. It's like, here you go.
Yeah.
Did the trick.
Helps.
Very nice. Yeah.
Well, it's very good. I used to call it my brandy cure whenever I felt like I had a flu coming on. I'd buy a bottle of brandy and just drink the whole bottle and then sweat like a maniac. And usually a day and a half later, I was fine.
Yeah.
So my daughter often reminds me of it. I go, oh, I'm feeling like I'm a bit of a cough coming. She go, oh, have you done your brandy cure yet? And I go, oh, thanks for reminding me.
Take your medicine.
Yeah, like a man.
That's brilliant.
Yeah.
So you've been doing this for 45 years, man.
Yeah.
For 45 years.
Yeah.
You get into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Oh, never. I'm too independent.
Yeah. Yeah.
All you got to have a top 40 hit to do that shit,
Yeah.
Unless they do like an Academy Award thing, an honorary thing. But I mean, I think X should get in there just for, X Aspirations is often nominated as one of the most influential Australian recordings.
Yeah.
That would get you a ticket. But no, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It's like more mystery and allure, I think, more credibility with the young folks that, it's kind of, I remember saying about 5 years ago that early X stuff would be like the equivalent to, well, not the equivalent, but in the same vein here in Australia as the old blues things of the 20s and 30s, because they were really shonky record deals. The artists rarely got anything out of it, but they traveled, and it was their continual live performances that kept their music alive, and then other people would start covering it and stuff like that. They just wait. There'll be a couple of generations. There'll be these young people who hear about this mysterious record, and they'll find it on Spotify or wherever, and they go, "Wow, this guy's singing with an Australian accent." The drums and the bass, that guitar is just woefully good. Like it's so bad, it's awesome. And that's what they come to me with. And I just think, yeah, I was right to have faith that it would endure. It's never out of a pressing. Someone's always writing to me saying, can we do a release? Because we've never had one here before.
Yeah.
Yeah, as long as I'm alive, I'll keep it going.
Is faith a big part of the longevity? Do you think having faith in what you do? Belief, self-belief?
I think stubborn is probably more important.
Yeah.
Faith is fickle, you can have it, but it doesn't take much to shake it sometimes. But I think there's a practical version of faith that is worth pursuing. And that's what I mean. Like when I talk about give it time, it might be 40 or 50 years, but it will get there. And it's not a matter of believing in yourself, because you kind of have to do that every time you get up and do a gig anyway. That's just par for the course. But what you do have to have faith is in an audience that does not exist yet, but will one day exist if you keep plugging away. And just you get knocked down, you get up, and you just keep going.
Yeah, right.
And that's what, just the cross that line thing is a bit about that, There's it's because a lot of the songs will have layers and be metaphors, like Dare to Be Different is initially for my wife, but it's also self-reflection, having to, there've been plenty of times that I've been on my knees, but there's always been someone to put out a hand and go, keep going. And also, the current climate with identity crises or your binary, non-binary jazz. I mean, it's current in that regard. Though often you'll write a song and not realize the scope within it, depending on what kind of mindset you are when you listen to it. Like to some people, it'll just be a love song, and that's cool because it is, but it's everything else too. It's a bit of advice to myself. Cross that lines again, like just looking towards the future thing, and it looks good. Still have to get out there and fight, and crossing that line, going from the punk into something that I think is more suited to my age. Still got piss and vinegar in it, with congratulations and stuff like that. It's still got something to say. Still happy to tell some people to get knotted.
Yeah. It's a very important ingredient, especially in the music business. I think that's possibly what I lacked, which is probably why I didn't, why I probably gave up. Well, I've never really given up music. It's something that I'll always do. It's my first love. But then I went into comedy. It's a very different beast, but it's much the same thing. You have to have that faith in it.
Yeah, and comedy, you have to be able to throw a few punches. If you go up there and play it safe, there's no risk, so there's no edge humor. You got to be able to stick it to it, and you got to be able to take it.
Yeah. Give it. It's a funny thing about that. It's I see a lot of the safe comedians making it, and they're getting the stuff kind of laid out for them, but I don't believe that they have the longevity.
No, because I mean you can't. Well, they're playing it safe, I suppose, because they don't want to get cancelled. But you see, like you Bill Burrs, Dave Chappelle, and people like that. They don't pull any punches, and they don't seem to be in any threat of losing their public accessibility.
Yeah,
so it's there. I mean, but how do you get there?
That's it.
And I'd be maybe like Jimmy Page or something. I'd be a rock god, but
yeah.
People that have been up there with those people, and I asked, because one of the bass players I worked with a lot used to be in the Expensive Winos with Keith Richards, and I said to him one day, you'd probably get sick of people asking you about shit, but what was it like? What was he like? And he goes, he was okay. He was he's just real, and I'm going, oh, okay, I can take that a lot of ways. That's a bit miss, like the big stage stuff and the touring and the hospitality, because I played Mick Jagger as well. He did 10 years of the Divinals. And so don't you miss all that flying around and hotels, 5-star hotels? And he goes, you know what it's like when you're just in a band, like say the band we're in now. And yeah. He goes, well, there's really shitty parts and there's really good parts. And the shitty parts, they're all right because it's no big deal. You're not playing to a stadium. If you fuck up, you fuck up. If you don't, you don't. It's all cool. It's all on a certain level and everyone's happy there. They're there because that's where they want to be. That's it. So now just imagine that by 200,000. So all the shitty bits are 200,000 times more shitty. The good bits are 200,000 times better. The amount of shitty bits still doesn't make the good bits sit any higher. You know, it's just there. It's just more of it. And it's, you know, if I had to stay there, it would have killed me. And I thought, well, there you go. See, I must have intuitively known. And so, and as I say to people, the secret to my success is a lack of it.
That's very good.
Mm.
Secret to my success is the lack of it.
Yeah.
I'm going to put that at the start.
Yeah. You know, you don't have people fawning at your feet, telling you you're good, you know, and you're great and you're awesome. And, you know, I've seen people have that done, and then they turn into weird versions of themselves. You know, my wife's quite happy to tell me I'm a dick if I'm being a dick. You know, my kids are quite happy to remind me, often with my own alleged wisdom. You know, be talking to my daughter about something, or my son, and they'll say this thing back to me, and I'll go, wow, that's really deep. Who told you that? Where did you read that? And I go, you told me that, you know, when I was, you know, 10 or something. And I go, oh, wow, really? I should have written this shit down. You know, I could put out a self-help book or something, you know. But I don't know. It's like I said, if people know a little bit, there's more to be interested in. If they know it all, then they can be judgmental. They can be whatever, you know. I've been asked to do an autobiography a few times. I've even been offered a publishing deal to do it. But I just think, if I did, where all the mystery goes, you know?
Yeah,
it becomes a thing. You just be, you know, and as it is, my son in particular says, your problem is, Dad, you're too accessible. You know, you're on your Facebook page, you talk to anyone. You know, you should have someone managing your page and saying shit that needs to be said. And I'm going, I am saying shit that needs to be said. This is me talking to people. I like people, you know. And that's why I like the gig the other night, because I could actually sit there under the guise of selling records and just talk to people. You know, they sit down and feel like we hang out all the time. And it might be the first time I've ever met them. I think that's heaps more important than being cool.
I think that's way more important. The cult of celebrity drives me crazy these days, and you see how out of touch celebrities get, because they're constantly surrounded by people who are telling them, you're awesome, you're great, you can do no wrong.
Yeah.
And it's toxic.
It is. And a lot of them are celebrities for no other reason than they're a celebrity, like initially self-proclaimed, and say the right things on Instagram or Twitter or shit like that. And then, you know, that they've got all these filters on and stuff. Again, you read these really bizarre stories. You think, why would you go through all that trouble to have that? But I suppose it makes them feel good. I don't know. But no, I think that thing is toxic. It's to make people famous just for literally nothing. It speaks ill of the current mentality. Well, what used to be idols, you know, not that the idols of yesterday were any better, I suppose. I mean, we grew up admiring people that were smacked out of it and rooting anything that moved.
It's changed, hasn't it?
Not really. That it's pretty toxic too, but you know, you don't know any better. And the thing is, you're supposed to learn as you get older that these things superficially may be very appealing, but it's very hard to maintain and stay alive. And I know this because I know so many dead people.
That's very sobering, isn't it? You get older and you look back and it's like a pages full of dead people.
Yeah, yeah. Especially there was a run where I can't remember the order. I think it was Peter Wells, no, it was Billy Thorpe, Peter Wells, Lobby Lloyd, Mick Cox, all went in a really short period of time. And it was like, oh, they were the people that I looked up to, you know, and aspired to be like.
Mm.
You know, 8 to 10 years older than me, if not more.
Mm.
And when they all kind of went at once, and then there was Brian and Spencer and a whole lot that were not quite as old as me or the same age as me, just suddenly gone too. It's like, oh, this is not good. You know, if I'm going to stick around, I got to pace myself.
Yeah. It does. It's good to pull up. Like I was running from demons for a long time and doing everything I could to escape.
Yeah.
And I eventually had to just turn around and go, yeah, this is silly. This is no way to live. This is a good way to die. But I don't think I want to do that.
Yeah. You know, it's all smoke and mirrors, you know, like I've had the Playboy Playmate of the Month year actually type relationship, and it was pretty much, it was very intense and fun while it lasted, but you end up with a lifestyle that's like you just cannot maintain it. You just can't.
Yeah.
You know, rather the real mill relationships are hard enough. You know, when you both think you're madly in love and you have kids and then you find out that it's not working, it's not easy. You know, it took a lot of wrecks, a lot of train wrecks to sort of go, well, you know, the secret to making anything work is by actually doing the work.
Yeah.
Last thing you want to hear, but it's the most important thing to know.
Yeah, and realizing that that's worth it is a big thing.
Yeah. Well, I got married second time. We did it in Las Vegas because we thought it'd be fun, and I don't know if it was partly because what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas, but we're at this place for dinner. I mean, it was just me and the missus. My daughter and her husband came to the wedding, but that was it. That was our wedding party. And then we went out, and there was a couple there. And I went to the piano player and said, hey, can you play this song for me and my wife? It's our first wedding night. And he goes, oh, yeah. He said, I'll do you after I do the couple over there. They've been married for 65 years. And I'm just like, what the fuck? And he played this song, and they got up and danced together, you know, like just as one.
Wow.
And I thought, wow, that is one of the most beautiful things I'd seen. So when they finished the dance, and when they went to, oh, excuse me, just saw you guys together in 65 years, that's a long time. How do you do it? And they both looked at each other and kind of much at the same time said, it took a lot of work, you know. And I thought, well, I've heard it from the experts.
Yeah.
So I thought I will work at it. And it's been wonderful ever since.
Yeah. Most things in life, if you're prepared to put in the work, you get rewards. And,
you know, I watched the thing because, you know, I do a lot of what I think Miles Davis used to call TV practice. You put something on the TV, but you turn the sound down and you just play without thinking about it, because half your mind's watching what's going on and your subconscious kicks in after a while and you come up with things that you might not have thought about otherwise. I mean, that's how I came out with the melody of Dare to Be Different. I was watching stupid YouTube things. But I was watching one the other day about people who won big lotto type things, lotteries, like 80 million or 200 million, and then within 3 or 4 or 5 years, they're broke and living in a trailer somewhere. You know, it's if it comes too easy, you don't appreciate it, and then you blow it.
Yeah, I've heard many of those stories. I've seen some of the stories where they grow that wealth and they turn it into something, but those people were often working beforehand. They were building something, so the money just kind of added to what they were already doing.
Yeah, some people win it and still keep going to work.
Yeah,
That's what they do, and money is just money.
Yeah,
that doesn't seem to affect them.
mm.
I don't think I'd be like that. I think I'd be one of the people that would somehow find a way to blow it.
Yeah, I'd be dead.
There are times I would have been too, like there's also that theory that when people inherit wealth, like the say the great grandfather founds a company, his son builds it into something, third son starts to fuck it up, fourth son blows it all, and that's the end of the dynasty sort of thing.
Yeah,
that cycle too. It's life is it's complex, and you can't afford to take anything for granted.
Yeah, that's true.
It's a bit deep, isn't it?
Good. That can lead us into. I really liked your Facebook post about the Queen, because
yes,
and that's inspiring a lot of people to post things about the royals and whatnot. But one of the things, you were an ambassador for ChildWise.
Yeah.
Tell us about that.
Well, there was this person that I kind of knew who was organizing a benefit gig to raise money for ChildWise, and she worked for them. And she said, would X play? And I said, yeah, sure. And she was having a lot of trouble just getting things organized. And I said, look, no offense or anything, but if you just let me take over organizing the gig, it'll be a lot easier, because I've done a million. So we did that, and then the CEO said, thanks, that was really nice of you. Would you like to be an ambassador for the charity? And I said, well, yeah, what do I have to do? And he said, well, first of all, you have to pass a police check. Yeah, that should be fine. Yeah. So I did that, and then I had to, there's a lot of literature that I had to read and understand and process, and I had to sort of kind of do sort of like an examination of sorts to prove that I knew if I was engaged to talk about the charity, that I could recite the right statistics and I could say the right things. And I did a couple of gigs with to raise money for them. And, it was interesting, is not the right word, but it was an experience, because I'd say get to go on a primetime morning radio thing to talk about the charity. And they go, okay, you can talk about the charity, but you can't mention child sex abuse. You can't mention this. You can't. I'm like, well, what am I going to say?
Very tricky.
You sit there, try, and I tell them off air, look, but there's all this shit that needs to be known. And they go, oh, yeah, I totally agree, but you can't say it on radio. And it's like, so I just hit the kill button. It was only when I started getting into some of the uni stations, they didn't give a shit. They wanted to hear everything, and so that was kind of good. But the nature of the charity started to evolve, and the original CEO left. The one person who replaced her was replaced by someone else, and they decided they wanted to be more corporate lobbying, and that's not. I'm not a corporate guy, and so I just moved on. but it's still something that I care about. And yeah, you know, I know there's a lot of that stuff with royals and lizards and pedophiles and things, and I don't know what's true there or not. The statistics I dealt with were much more your average family home, you know, the best friend that's diddling your kids, or the uncle that's doing the wrong thing when he's babysitting. It's you know, I'm not saying that it doesn't exist in institutions, because my grandfather on one side was a police inspector, and he was constantly battling within the police force to arrest or prosecute people that were politicians or clergymen or high court judges and stuff like that, that you just couldn't do it. And he was basically forced into an early retirement. So yeah, of course it exists, but when you focus it on those things, whether it's real or not, the real close to home stuff goes by unnoticed. And I said on Facebook that I was an ambassador for the charity. The amount of people that wrote to me personally telling me about their experiences was like, oh, it was extremely confronting. I had to get some counseling.
Yeah.
Just because of the horror stories and some of the things you could offer positive advice to. Sometimes the ship had sailed a long time ago, or the person didn't want to go public because their mother or father would never talk to them again if they did. It was horrible, because I could feel for them. You know, I had my own troubles when I was a kid, but all that stuff.
Yeah, I think a lot of us did.
That's more important, really, because, you know, if no point in bitching about anyone else if it could be happening in your own home or the people next door. Or, you know, when I was a kid, there was a guy, long dead now. I'm 65. Well, yeah, God knows how long he's been dead for. But he was weird. You know, he used to walk around with dirty magazines in his pockets or under his Mac or whatever. And my grandfather was like, you keep away from Keefy Coles, you know, don't talk to him, don't get it on, don't be alone with him, because he's, you know, there's something seriously wrong with him. And you go, oh, okay. And you just avoid him. Yeah, so it's a big subject, but, you know, with the Queen thing, I thought I had that dream about her. Didn't really mean anything, but like I said in the thing, when I was stressed, it used to feel like a surrogate mother thing. And I always kind of felt a little tenderness, you know. And like I said, I don't know firsthand anything to tell me otherwise. I know a lot of people are really pro-royals, and a lot of people are really anti them. But, you know, sometimes it's not picking a side. It's just sometimes you can see a bit of this and a bit of that, you know. As my dear old police grandfather used to say, that even she has to sit down to shit, you know. And I thought, not a mental image I really wanted. The Queen actually on the throne. But that was his way of leveling the playing field, you know. And I thought, yeah, okay. You know, like every other family, they've definitely got problems. Like my musician friend said, that their problems, because they're so public, are just that much more worse. Perhaps, you know, I don't know, because I can't get inside their heads. I don't know. It's an assumption, you know.
Yeah.
But I think it's a fair one.
Yeah. I think that I get very into conspiracy theories and whatnot. It's kind of can be fun rabbit hole to go down, but I also find that it takes you out of your real life, it takes you away from life, and
Yeah.
head with this kind of defeatist attitude of like, well, if they're doing this to us, what, you know, what, how do I fight back? And
Well,
I think you need to
yeah,
just live your
I
life.
know. I go on conspiracy theory binges, you know, like I sometimes get a real laugh or a kick out of the flat earth thing. I love the video glitch lizard people things, you know. It's like, really, you really think there's lizard people? Or the hollow moon, you know, there's so many to choose from.
Yeah.
And they are a pleasant sort of diversion at times.
Mm.
But if all those things are happening, then they've been happening since the dawn of time, you know. And if it hasn't changed, it's never going to change unless you change. You know, the only change you can really affect is a change within yourself. And if it carries on to someone else, then fine. You get a chain reaction. You just got to hope that what you choose to champion is right, because otherwise you're going to fuck a lot of people up unnecessarily.
Yeah.
That's going to be fairly. I don't say anything unless I've considered both sides of an argument. And then, you know, sometimes if I really, really, truly believe something, I'll say it. Like some of the stuff I used to talk about with ChildWise, because statistically, it seemed to ring true. And I mean, like anything can be, you know, like test studies say, if you're paid to get a result from a test study that's favorable or disfavorable, and then you'll maybe your automatic bias will kick in and you will provide the right answer, so you get paid.
Mm.
It's the same with any kind of belief, whether you want to. Someone wrote me something that I said, they picked out a line and said, I like this. And I'm just trying to remember this, maybe not word for word, but I said, whatever is in your heart and in your mind is what you will deign to be worshipful. So, you know, if you're really messed up in your heart and in your head, the things you're going to put your worship or your belief or your support to are going to be products of that. And they may be really twisted. Or maybe, you know, you've resolved it and something good, but that you would have consciously made that pain and trauma transmute into something positive and then put it out there, which is what I've tried to do. You know, my experiences when I was a kid, make them, as a Buddhist friend said once, sometimes you have to learn to embrace the pain and the negative experiences. You have to learn to love them in order to appreciate what you were supposed to learn. And I used to think, what a load of bollocks. What, you know, fuck you. You don't know, you know, you don't know. But then when you get past the self-pity and you actually think about it, you have to evolve or you go down. Like a lot of sex offenders were victims of child sex abuse. And it's a cycle that can repeat. And it's very hard one to break, apparently.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, stuff like that. It is. You can get two people living next door, same street, same kind of families. One will become a huge success, one will become a bum or something, you know. Well, my younger brother, he's built up a business. It's huge. Works his ass off, you know, and still finds time to sort of, you know, on my birthday, say, here, I've made you a Fender Precision bass, you know. And I'm like, oh, well, dude, you got no time for yourself, you know, like, what are you doing this one? You go, I can remember when I was a kid and I'd do something wrong and I'd be up for a beating and you'd throw yourself over me and you'd take it. And he said, I'll never forget that. And I'll never forget the sound of, wire coat hangers across your back, I'll never forget that. And so, I can never do enough for you. And I go, you don't have, that's not why I did it, And he goes, well, anyway, that's how I feel. And that's what I mean by taking things and making them positive. It made me have no time for bullies. It made me have, made me like, I'm a pretty big guy, I'm 6'3", 4. And, when I was working a lot, pretty damn solid, but I've never thrown that around, to bully or punish, well, actually I smacked a few people in the head only because they really had it coming. Yeah, we all have moments of weakness, but it's just like I said, life is complicated, and making the most of it doesn't mean you have to be a millionaire or anything. Making the most of it means that you're with wherever you are, you're reasonably content and pretty happy. And when you look back, you just don't think, not too many fuck ups that you can really dwell on. Everyone has moments you look back and you just go, oh God, those horrible cringe memories. Sometimes they're puerile to anyone else, but for you at that time, hugely important. Yeah.
I was going to say, actually, I remember the first time I saw you guys would have been, I don't know, 84, 85, I think, at the Punters Club.
All right.
Or it was in St Kilda, I remember that.
Uh-huh.
I remember seeing you on stage and being kind of intimidated by your presence.
Yeah.
You're just this like fucking beast up there. Like, yeah. And, yeah, it was wild, man.
A lot of people have said that, and I go, but I was always, like, I thought quite demure for someone of my size,
You were not.
Yeah, but Ian had the big hairy chest, and he had muscular arms, he'd be and pulling all the faces. And I'm just, because I was stuck behind the mic most of the time, you'd be standing there playing, or which, yeah, I'd be belting it out.
Yeah.
A few people said, oh, you should be terrified of you. And I said, why? And then, I think about some of the lyrics of the songs and go, oh, yeah.
Yeah, makes sense.
But, like a lot of that was social critique. It wasn't, it wasn't say, this is how I am. This is like, maybe you're a bit like this and you might want to look at it because it's not that attractive. Like Degenerate Boy, classic example, and it's hysterical because Saturday night, was it Saturday or Friday? Friday night, singing Degenerate Boy, and everyone in the whole pub, as soon as it gets up my arm, it went just unison, and I'm thinking, oh God. This is not the precedent that I wanted to set. It was a critique, not an anthem. I hang around bars and shut up the sluts. Yeah, that's me. And I'm thinking, oh God, no. The epitome was during the song. At a gig in Sydney somewhere, I think it was. Might have been the Metro. A guy hoisted his girl, I assume that was his girlfriend, up on the front of the monitor box in front of me and just started rooting her, in the middle of his mosh pit. I'm like, oh, you can't be, like, I'm going, Ryland, this is really happening. He's all fuck. And it got to the solo, he gets do a really long solo for them. I know, all right, something really bendy, sort of, it was hysterical. So you got to be careful you know, sometimes that yeah, you don't plant the wrong seeds. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's it's similar with I mean, music and comedy, they're very similar. If often I'll tell jokes. I haven't done it for a while. With COVID kind of wiped it out and moving, but I would often tell jokes that are kind of offensive and jarring.
Yeah.
The point is the joke. The point is to invoke humor. You know, I'm not really
Yeah.
saying this or whatever. And yeah, I can see
Yeah.
with Degenerate Boy especially.
Yeah.
That really was.
I know. For a while, I refused to play it. I just, no, I'm not going to be responsible for, you know, several generations of, you know, people thinking this is the right thing to do and to celebrate it. But I mean, you know, I mean, it's about everyone I knew at one stage was exactly like that.
Yeah. Well,
Critique.
that time when I would have been about 14. And so I was hanging around with my older brother would take me to gigs and stuff. And so I had a ball, but they were all into that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And yeah, they were all like cheering on that.
Yeah, I know. It was,
Easy.
you know, I prefer when we do suck and it's, you know, people actually, you know, like, yeah, fuck the establishment sort of thing, you know.
Yeah.
I find that's a bit more wholesome. But I mean, one of the things during the Abbott and Morrison years, people go, why don't you write political songs anymore? Yeah, but like all that stuff. And I go, because all the ones I wrote in X when I was 19 or 20, so nothing's changed. It's exactly the same. I don't need to write another song because Suck still is as relevant as it was. Stick It Up Your Revolution is still as relevant as it was. You know, all those songs, Police in the Streets, you know, Ian and I wrote together, all that stuff. Nothing's changed. And I think that's why people still like to come along and belt out the lyrics with us, because as Pete Townsend said, meet the new boss, same as the old boss. I mean, superficially, sometimes, but you know, things get done and then things change and things get undone and then they get redone and undone, and it's that endless correction, overcorrection, you know, that cycle.
Yeah.
I'm just a spectator, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, I'll go and vote, but you know, sometimes I have to, you know, I think, oh, who do I want least? Oh, all of them. It makes it hard, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it gets awkward because I'm not someone that believes in anarchy, because anarchy is the rule of the bully. But I mean, democracy is not maybe all it could be. It's still, as what is it, Plato? It's a mob rule. It's either him or Socrates, I can't remember. But yeah, I mean, you're damned if you do and damned if you don't. So that's what I say, you just look at yourself, try and be the best self you can be, and hope that has a positive effect on the next person. You know, you walk up the street, there's a Chinese supermarket that I used to go to, and suddenly half the stock's gone, and went in there and said, oh, are you moving out? And then the young woman said, no, just moving. And I'm going, oh, so you're moving around the corner or something? And she said, no, moving in. And so you're taking over, and she goes, yeah, that's why there's not much stuff here. I went, oh. I said, well, is that a good thing for you to be moving into here? And she said, oh, yeah. And you know, and we're just talking. And I said, well, you know, I wish you a lot of luck, and walk out. And she was really happy. And I think that's nice, you know. And then you're walking, you go to pass the checkout chick. Oh, hi, how you going? And it's a community, you know. And when you're going around a community and you're nice, everyone's nice back to you and respectful and stuff. And then it's harmonious.
Yeah.
there and then go, well, what the fuck? Oh, fuck, this is really expensive now. Fuck. Then that fuck that goes right around, and they pass that on.
Mm.
And it's again a bit more the Buddhist philosophy. But yeah, if someone's really shitty, maybe they've just had a bad day, and normally they're a nice person. So I try to give them the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah, for sure. I've noticed that recently, just up here. So it's a little odd coming back to the country because I grew up around here, spent the first like 12 years of my life in a little town called Oyen. It can be kind of brutal being in the country, but I've noticed when I'll go out and do some shopping or whatever, and if I have someone there that just smiles at you and they're happy to be interacting with you.
Yeah.
Like, forget the job, forget that I'm doing some menial bullshit. I'm just happy to be interacting with you. It lifts me up, and I'm like, I walk out of there just going, I feel good.
Yeah. It doesn't take much. Like, the older I get, the more sensitive I get to people who are 10 to 20 years older than me, like I see an old lady trying to open a plastic bag in a supermarket, and the fingers are really dry, and she's there and trying to, I just go, oh yeah, give it to me, and give it back to them, and they sort of stand there shocked sometimes, and like, oh, thank you, because you don't work there or anything, you just walk up, go, see you, have a nice day. Or like some old guy can't get the coin in the trolley to pull the trolley out, and they go, oh, here, take mine, and he's like, what? Like usually the initial reaction is, why are you doing this? And go, it's not a problem, I could see you were having trouble, just take mine, just do it. And they walk away mystified but smiling.
Yeah.
And that's a good thing, and I try to encourage myself to do that as often as possible.
Yeah.
I've spent a bit of time in the country. Lived in a shearer's quarters 26 miles out of town in Armidale, New South Wales, and as you said, it can be quite brutal and very stark. We didn't even have an electric stove, had a fuel burning stove that I had to learn to cook in. If I wanted to shower, I had to chop wood, put it under the boiler. It was rustic, and but it made me really fit, because if you wanted warmth and comfort, you had to make it with your own hands, And I was doing that when I got the telegram saying, hey, come and audition for this band. And 3 weeks later, I was an ex. Wow. Going to the dole office, and they go, okay, so what was your last job? You go, well, I was actually sort of trimming the hooves off sheep, before we ran them through the dip. And they're going, oh, other work? I worked in a battery farm, putting specs on chickens. Go, I don't think we've got much like that here, so you can just come back next month and whatever. And it was interesting.
Yeah. Kind of, the 80s, the 70s, 80s was a very different time with all that stuff. That reminds me of the film Idiot Box, which Mark of Cain covered Degenerate Boy for. Yeah, he would walk into the dole office and they'd go, you look for any, what are your specialties? He's go, I'm a poet. Have you found any work as a poet? Nah. All right, off you go. See you in 2 weeks.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It was, you could be very creative in those days. It was pretty funny.
Yeah.
Guy who went in and just said his name was Joe Blow, and gave me a whole lot of false shit, and they just sent him off a monthly check. I thought, Joe Blow? Are you seriously? The people in the office didn't think to question it. Like,
it's funny. Well, I guess there has to be one.
Yeah, and it may be, but I knew for a fact that his name wasn't Joe Blow.
I remember back then there was a similar story. Someone got pulled over by the police and they said their name was like Mark Winfield or something. How'd you come up with that name? It's a pack of Winfields was on the thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, have a Winfield. Yeah. It was a great time back then, because still even in the 70s, there's a hangover from the late 60s up until 77 when the punk thing really broke.
Mm.
It was great. It was I have very fond memories. You know, I mean, it was probably the poorest I've ever been. You know, like ripping fence palings off the fence to burn in the fireplace, smashing up furniture until there was no furniture left, you know, that kind of thing, living on lentil soup, or pea and ham soup. And you thought it was pretty tough, but now I look back and it's a glowing memory, you know, like, those are the days.
Yeah.
They were terrible.
Yeah. It's interesting how much the world has changed and how much we're getting to witness that.
I think for some people, they're still doing it as hard. I mean, there's more homelessness now.
Absolutely.
And I don't know that they'll ever get a chance to romanticize about it. But I mean, back then, well, people were in mental homes and stuff, you know. So every Thursday or second Thursday, they used to, when I lived in Balmain, they'd open up the doors for some of the inmates of Cullen Park, the more harmless ones, you'd say.
Yeah.
And, you know, they'd be out in droves, heading to the pub, whatever. And I would always get grabbed by a pair, you know. I'd be walking down the street and they go, "Oh, one of us." And I'm on either side, and off we go. And we go, "Oh, but yeah," and they'd be just these hysterical people, you know, no restrictions in their thought.
Mm.
And they weren't violent or nasty. They were hysterically funny some of the time. And sometimes they get to the point of being morbidly sad. And there's my doorbell. As it was, the day after that X-gig, I was knackered.
Really?
Work, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we did play for quite a while.
Yeah.
There's a lot of, yeah.
How long are your sets these days? Like usually, what do you?
Well, that one went for at least an hour and a half.
Hey.
Yeah.
That's and a lot of time to be putting in all, because you put in everything when you're up there.
Yeah, and it's not like we're doing it all the time, so you're match fit.
Yeah.
You know, we did a rehearsal, like, how's this one go? Oh, what about that in the middle? Oh, I'll look at that when I get home. Oh, okay. Yeah. Dum, 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 dum. Yeah, we'll be fine. It's X rehearsing, you know. And with the rising tide and the heinous hounds and the blues stuff, no rehearse at all.
Yeah.
I'll just go, we're going to play something we've never played before. And I go to the guys, it's sort of C, G, A, blah, 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 whatever. And in the chorus, C, E7, F, F minor, G. And they go, okay. And then I start playing. And then when they've got the feel in their head, they'll just join in and play. Or, you know, in the Hounds, Dave Hogan go, oh, Chicago Shuffle in C. And we, okay, wonder what this is going to be. And you play along, play some harmonica riffs and stuff. And you don't know the song, what it's going to be, until he opens his mouth and starts to sing. And you think, oh, he's doing it like this. Like, you do Hound Dog in a different way that you just never would expect, you know, and stuff like that. It keeps you guessing. You know, I tend to be a bit more practical and go, I'm just going to do it the way people know it, because I've had enough confusion with the last song. And then Jerome pulls some out of the bag, and yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting playing with people that are that good that you don't have to do anything other than say the feel, the key, and you'll be right. It's X, when Ian and Steve Kafira was still alive, we were like that because we were so used to each other.
Yeah.
Towards the end of that Exasperations period, we could walk on stage and Ian could start fiddling around with a bass line, and Steve would come in, then I'd come in, and Ian would sing something, I'd sing something back, and we'd write a song, just in front of everyone. And sometimes we'd remember how it went and do it the week later, and sometimes we forget and never do it again.
Yeah.
But that was really good. That was like, wow, we're getting somewhere. And then we just got sick of each other, or we'd have an argument about something, or Steve would leave, or this is going nowhere. Because no one wanted to book us, no one wanted to manage us, no one wanted to put a record out. It was hard,
Yeah.
It was hard to stick together sometimes, but then we'd miss it.
Yeah.
Oh, we'll just do one, and then there'd be a whole run again.
Yeah.
And,
That's what I found interesting. Like I've been doing comedy for 8-9 years now, but I've never given up on music. And I got together with a mate. I suppose we haven't really jammed together for probably a year and a half now, but we were spending a lot of time in my studio, and we were just recording songs. And like it would start out, I'd start playing drums, and he'd either get on the bass, and he's very much a lead player, and I'm a rhythm player. And we would just improvise 2 tracks, and then we'd improvise another 2 tracks on top. And nothing was ever written down, nothing was ever set. And we created some great music. Some of our songs go for like an hour and a half.
Whoa,
it's pretty mad. But then we'd write songs together and stuff, and just building that way. And it was really knowing each other, or knowing that, I don't know, just it's kind of creating magic out of nothing, where you're just like, well, let's make some music. And so that often makes me should get back into music more, because comedy, I'm nowhere near that level, but music, I've been doing it all my life.
Yeah.
So I can just sit down at pretty much any instrument and make something.
Yeah. It's good too, because it's nice to hear someone say that, I play rhythm guitar and my mate plays lead, because a lot of guitar people just want to do everything. Me. Because I'm so used to a 3-piece after X for all that time that, I just got into the style of chunk or hit a chord and then go or do a little solo, and that'd be it. And it was a real education for me when I first started doing the Heinous Hounds thing. And there was another guitar player in the band, and he was gun, like he's a blues man. He could do anything, he's a fantastic lead player. And that was great. I thought, oh, well, I can just, when it's not my turn to sing, I can just stand here and play rhythm guitar. And I just loved it so much,
Yeah.
It has so much fun because you can move the whole dynamics just by changing one stroke,
Yep.
And if the drummer's listening, he goes, oh, okay. And then the bass kicks in, and we used to make his solos sound so good, But if it came to my turn to do a solo, he'd just go, I keep right out of the way, and just, I want the surge too, like
back.
Good at that, but dude, immerse. Just do your own thing,
Yeah.
It's crazy.
It is. I found that a problem with you really got to find the right people to play with. When the right people come together,
Oh,
Just magic.
yeah.
It's-
Yeah, you don't have to think. But the guys I used on the Cross That Line record, the two Peters, Peter Maverick and Peter Robertson, they were just, I met them through them filling in when Ash Davies couldn't play drums. Sometimes I have Dave Foley or the guy Craig Hadlow, and Peter Robertson was started to turn up more and more. And he had a totally different vibe. And one of those people that really used to listen to me playing rhythm guitar. So I thought, oh, I'll use this guy one day, you know.
Mm.
You know, Pete Maverick used to stand in for Jerome, and then he said, you know, I'd like to do, I've heard some of your other stuff and I'd like to do something double bass. I thought, okay. And then the two Peters started to play together in the Hounds, and they really clicked, you know, they really, really clicked. Not that Jerome or anyone else didn't click, but these two, they had a different language that they talked to each other. And so when I decided to do the record, I just said double bass brushes. How does that sound to you? And they go, love it. And so we'll get Bruce Hames on the piano, and the young engineer that was giving me lessons on Pro Tools got a job in a studio over in Brunswick, rang up and said, got 6 hours free if you want it. Come in, do whatever you want. I just want someone with some experience and a bit of a name to come in. So I said to the guys, hey, we got 6 hours in the studio, let's go and record some tracks. And they're like, okay, what are we going to record? And I go, I don't know. They go, covers. And I go, no, originals. And they go, okay. Not phased. Do we know any of them? No, I don't think so. And I'm like, okay. And so I think we started with something like Old Ben Putty, because there's only one chord, you know, it just sits there on G going like a throbbing migraine is what I said. I want this to be like a throbbing migraine, you know, oh, okay, we can do that. And so we did a run through and got the shape of it. Then I think on the second run through, Bruce did something really interesting on the piano. We thought, oh, that's cool. Let's pick up on that. Third take, being okay, in the bag. What's next? And you know, we might have done something like the Bomp Bompa Bonk song, you know, like, oh, well, this is just a standard 12-bar kind of thing, you know, and we'll do that. And again, 3 takes, third take was the one. And then we got to something like Dare to Be Different, where I'd have to play a chord, sing a bit, and then go C sharp, or, you know, like C minor, and very poorly conduct the band. You can hear it in the drum mic sometimes, me calling out a chord. You know, it's there forever, you know. And I love that stuff, you know. When I hear old records and you hear the underneath takes, you know. Yeah. So yeah, kept all that stuff, and we managed to get 6 songs pretty much recorded in 6 hours. So.
Wow.
And then the lockdown hit.
Yeah.
What am I going to do now? And so did a bit of deep diving, and, you know, anything that wasn't particularly perfect or something, or there's just maybe someone hit a mic on a drum thing or something, just fix a few little things like that. And I was like, well, now what do I do? I thought, oh, well, instead of just playing the one guitar, I'll split it and I'll do a rhythm and lead part. And so I had fun doing that. And then I thought, well, horns would be great. So I sent off 4 songs to a guy called Chris Vizard, and he scored and, you know, arranged the horns, sent them back to me, PDF things, all the sheet music. And I'm like, I mean, like, what do you think? And I'm going, looks great. I can't read music, but, you know, and my young engineer friend, to get around the COVID restrictions, said, I'll nominate you as mental health you know, so I can come around and we can work on the tracks, you know.
Nice.
And he could read music. He said, "Oh, yeah, it looks good." And I'm going, "All right, but what's it going to sound like?" And he goes, "Well, it looks like it will sound great." And I'm like, "Okay." And so, you know, I started doing some vocal takes, and then there was a break, and I got Dave Hogan in to do some harmonica, and then I got horn players to come around. We just did it in my garage, set up in the studio in my garage, and blah, and it was like, oh God, it sounded so good, you know. They just went bang, 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 bang. You know, anything else? And I go, just more. And they go, oh, good, because, you know, this is the 4-piece arrangement, the 3-piece arrangement, but we can do it like a 6-piece or a 7-piece. And I'm just, you know, I'm just loving it. And so they did that and went. And Dare to Be Different was just, that was one of the ones that really changed. You know, I thought, I've got to ride the dynamics of the horns. So I pulled out the drums and bass for the first verse. So it's just a piano and that really lonely sax, you know. And then it kicks in, very simple, choppy guitar. And then the horns really go up into that instrumental part. And then, yeah, you know, it just, singing to the horns was the most fun I've had in years. It was just so good. Congratulations. Just the feel like they had just with the rhythm section was so cool. When you listen to the bass on that, on a double bass, you know, that it's like coffee percolating or something. And it's just such a gentle funk, you know. And Bruce is really cool on the piano. And then the horns, it's like, oh, it just takes it to a whole new thing, you know.
It's got a New Orleans feel. I felt. Yeah. It's a wild track. I love it. I'm going to play it on the radio this week. Actually, I do a radio show up here. I'm going to play it on the radio, man.
Yeah, it's cool. And yeah, with the Moths to a Flame, they got a real Dixie vibe into it. Because they, you know, the horn players said they pre-COVID, they used to try and get over to New Orleans as often as possible and just go around and jam in all the juke joints and learn, you know. So when they do that really brassy, you know, trumpety things and stuff, I don't know what to call it. You know, it's just when I gave them the tracks and said, I want horns in these, I said, what type of horns do you want? And I went, oh, something really tight but sloppy. And they went, got it. And I thought, God, because that was pretty general statement, you know, like tight but sloppy. I said, no, exactly what you mean. And yeah, and that was that New Orleans loose jazz thing, you know.
Yeah.
And when I released the record and said, oh, it's a blues record, and people go, no, it's jazz. It's roots. You've got, you know, country with just you and the guitar, and you've got, you know, triangles on the song. It's more than blues.
Yeah.
And I just said, but blues is kind of everything anyway, isn't it? And then I found out that no, it wasn't. And then I started listening to it actually properly, you know. And I did an interview with what's his name, Matthew Fredericks, does a show on PBS, and he gave me his book, a copy of his book called Crossroads, about Robert Johnson and the whole Crossroads myth and the metaphor of it and the context. And so he'd talk about stuff, and I go, oh, okay, I can probably find something like this on YouTube. And so I'd watch a little mini documentary on someone I'd never heard of before and just go, oh. And the evolution of songs, like, I can't remember the name of the song, but it's by the Mississippi Sheiks. Sitting on Top of the World, Mississippi Sheiks. Then there's, then I went and I saw when that came up, there's this guy, Doc Watson, and his version of that song, like lyrics are almost totally different. And chord progression wasn't exactly the same. But I thought, oh, that's interesting. Then I listened to Howling Wolf's version of it, different again. But yeah, no one's calling it plagiarism or whatever. It's just the song being passed around, misheard or whatever, or just like, no, fuck that. I want to do it like this, because it suits me. And that evolutionary aspect of the blues is, and roots music is what really makes it so special.
Yeah.
It's the thing about some of the mountain music. And, from one side of the valley to the other, the rendition of a song would be totally different.
Yeah.
They never communicate, so they lived in these isolated pockets.
Yeah.
And the genius level playing, but, like they got two teeth in their head and, wearing a pair of overalls and some old ladies doing a soft shoe sort of dance to it. And that's what they did the pastime on it. And it's just brain numbing, some of the stuff.
Mm.
They pick, like this,
Yeah.
you think, what the fuck?
Yeah.
I mean, you must have been really bored to learn how to do that.
Yeah, you get a lot of time on your hands.
I can't pick with more than two fingers, my brain doesn't work like that.
Yeah.
I couldn't do an arpeggio to save my life.
Mm.
But that's all right, it's different strokes for different folks, but
Absolutely.
it's fascinating, the whole thing.
That is a really interesting thing. Like the business, copyright, and people are very, very possessive about. I mean, naturally, you're very possessive about your creations.
Yeah,
I know I can be, but it is really interesting to just let that go out there.
yeah. And if you're a comedian and you write a funny joke, you want to own that joke because that's your intellectual property.
Oh yeah.
But sometimes you see people go copyright their Facebook page post or something. I think that's a bit weird.
It's going a bit far.
Because you sign away all your rights the minute you sign on the Facebook and shit like that anyway.
Yeah.
So it's like a moot point. Your IP is your IP, no matter what.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's weird. But with the blues thing, it's almost a compliment to take something and evolve it. Whereas in pop music, it's plagiarism and you can be sued. Like George Harrison and that song, He's So Fine with My Sweet Lord,
Yeah.
Yeah, it's different. And the literary thing's different again. It's even more strict.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, it's complex world.
It's crazy now. Like I go to a gym and do some training a couple of times a week now, and the music they play, like if I don't send them a playlist, which is my preference, the music, like gym music, can really be depressing. But there's so much of it now, I've noticed, that it's either just directly a cover song and they're just covering a song, or more often than not, it's another song, but they've just changed it slightly and they've gone, well, this is mine now. But I don't know how much of that comes from the compliment and how much comes from, I'm just going to make money from this.
Yeah,
it'll be a hit again.
Well, it's probably the same guy that's writing all the different versions,
Yeah, right.
Because I know my son went through a hip hop phase, and people were very protective about their beats. Oh, you can't do that. That's my beat. And I'm thinking, more. How many freaking beats are there in a bar? The texture or the sound and the syncopation or whatever. They'd be really fun. That's mine. You can't do that. And fair enough. Like, well, I know some musicians that when they register their songs with APRA actually write out the melody.
Right.
Send it in. With X, it would be the name, approximately how long it went for, and that's it. And God help us,
Beats are really interesting, like I started out as a drummer,
Uh-huh.
and later on when I got into keyboard programming and whatnot, because I worked in studios for many years and eventually became a producer of death metal records.
Oh, right, okay.
But for a long time I was doing, programming for bands, and I would do a lot with beats. And it's amazing just playing around with like shifting the groove slightly, dropping a beat in here. It can really become really like you can identify a beat, and you would not think
Yeah.
a beat would be that identifiable, but yeah, bang on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah. I see that sometimes with the early X stuff because Steve Cafiero really arranged his drum parts and be like, don't you deviate because you'll fuck me up, So just do it right, There's a few songs that were a bit more loose, but generally it was precise. And many drummers, I've said, can you try and do it like he did? And he's like, oh, I can't, it's just uniquely him.
Yeah.
I can't like that, like I'll do my version of it. And, and I get good people to play. So it's always good. But it's never the same, and that can be annoying. And I think, well, it's not a cover band. So it's not a tribute band. It's this incarnation of the band. And I've got the best people I can to do the job as best as they can.
Yeah.
It's good. I've got no complaints. But every now and then I just think, oh, I really miss, like, he used to be able to do these triplets on the kick with he showed me how he did it one day. He had this really weird corded muscle across his shin that I'd never seen before. He's trained it, so if you put his foot at a certain angle, it would spasm this nerve and you just go like insanely fast and really loud because he was big, and it would just be insane. You think, wow, that is freakish. Not surprised that not many people could do it. And he didn't do it on every song, but I think you did it rarely, but it's just knowing that he could. You go, oh, what the fuck? It was insane. But a lot of time very simple, but had a great feel for great swing feel, And now, having done the Cross That Line record and going back and listening to X Aspirations, I mean, they're miles apart in some ways, but the thing it has in common is it's all about the feel. I mean, you listen to X Aspirations and it's almost punk jazz. If you really listen to what the drums are doing, if you really listen to what the bass is doing, and then you just got this avant-garde fucking haphazard guitar shit and me barking out lyrics trying to get over the noise. It's I have a whole lot of renewed respect for the album, and considering it was done in like 3.5 hours.
You did that with Lobby?
That Lobby was producing it? Yeah.
Did you work with Lobby a lot?
We did another 2 records with him. We did At Home With You, and that was interesting. I really was hoping we'd do it like X Aspirations and just go in and go bang and play a whole lot of shit and then go, hey, yeah, that's great. I don't know. It might have been because there was that infamous Tony Khan phase where he'd go up the road for a milkshake and disappear for 8 hours or not come back at all. It went on over like 2 weeks or something, and it just felt like a long time. And we were doing gigs at the night and coming into the studio, And theoretically, that should have worked really well. But when you do a live gig, it sounds so different. And you think, oh, yeah, that was great last time. We'll do it like that. And you go in the studio, and because it's so dead, all that energy just goes and just evaporates. It just gets sucked into the walls, you know, that are soundproofed. And it's like, fuck, I'm putting all this energy out. And it's just, where's it going?
Yeah.
So, you know, when we did Exasperations, we didn't have time to think about what it sounded like. It was just like, oh, no, there's not a single there. You know, thanks for wasting my time. That's what the engineer's basically saying. And Lobby's saying, right, it's not a single there because it's a concept album. And the only effect he used was on I Don't Want to Go Out. And he just said, but I just got to do this one thing. And he put the harmonizer on I Don't Want to Go Out, for no reasons unknown to anyone except Lobby. Yeah, and so I was hoping it'd be like that, but that's how come a song like Don't Cry No Tears ended up on it, because we were sitting around going, oh, fuck, waiting for someone. And I can't remember who we were waiting for that particular day. And then I think Kathy said to someone, wait, well, get Steve to go and play that really pretty song. And I'm going, what really pretty song? And she goes, you know, the one about no tears. And then he's going, yeah. And I'm going, but, you know, we don't know that. You guys, no, you just go and do it. And so I went in there with a 12-string guitar and played that. And then I put a little bit of electric on it. And then Jeremy from the Horns with the Hunters and Collectors came in and said, oh, can I put some French horn on it? And I was like, yeah, do what you like. And then whoever turned up and I went, oh, yeah, that's interesting, but, you know, we'll go on to this now. And that was that, you know. It was cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, there's good things and bad things about having time in the studio, but normally I like to go in and just get it done, not think about it too much.
Yeah.
Because it's just, sometimes you can take everything that's good about a song out and you don't ever realize until it's way too late. And then you hear it on the radio, you think, oh, fuck, what happened to all those really good bits? You know, like, it sounds like shit. Ooh. I mean, we hated Dream Baby. Oh. Anyway, that was our fourth attempt at being commercial.
Yeah, that's always a problem.
Yeah.
I found that with early on, all the stuff I was learning, I guess it was rife during the 80s where everything in recording studios had to be absolutely clean.
Oh, yeah. And that horrible snare sound that got worse during the 90s. What the fuck? What were people thinking?
There were bad mistakes made.
I was watching a movie last night with my missus, and I can't remember what it was, but they had some 90s song, and it started with vocals and a snare basically, and it's just like, as soon as we heard that, then we just, oh God, we're back. I hate that snare sound. Simultaneously, it's just, you know, to me, it will always be so dated. It was dated the minute the first person did it, you know. It was bad enough in the 80s, but the 90s took snare sounds to a whole new level of shit.
Yeah, it was brutal. I remember some of the earliest bands that I kind of worked with just as an assistant. They were separating the band, so it was you know, get the drum track down, which, you know, that can work.
Yeah,
fine, it can work in a lot of ways, but I always felt it degraded the tracks so much.
Yeah, it's weird. Oh, yeah, I used to hear stories. They'd get in the drum track, and then they get the drummer to come in and do the hi-hats, and then the snare, just the snare, and then the kick.
Yeah.
How are you going to get a groove out of that?
We tried that once. Me and my brother were in the studio, and we went like, all right, let's try it. We'll put down each thing individually. it was the worst. I've never heard anything as bad. Like everything was so disconnected.
Yeah.
But oof, yeah,
I mean,
I really like some noise in there. You know.
yeah, you want to hear a bit of spill, you know. And there are just some very inherent relationships, like an acoustic guitar's relationship to a hi-hat is essential. You know, of course, bass and kick drum are essential, you know, like your chops on your electric, you know, like Keith Richards, Charlie Watts type thing, you know, like essential.
Yeah.
You know, there's some things that you just don't fuck with.
Yeah.
And how are you going to do that if you've broken everything down so minutely? It's impossible to have a vibe.
Yeah. Well, even with like when they would take the drummer, okay, the drummer's down his part, then the bass player, and then the guitar, and we're all going to get this beautiful separation of sound, so that the mixer can then create this great product. And it's like, okay, well, I see what you're doing, but it removes the visual aspect of the performance.
Yeah, because you can't eye to eye.
Yeah.
And you can't hide a moment.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the other thing is, they get it and it's all separated. So they think, oh, we need to fill it out. So then just put loads of reverb on it and make it sound even more separated, ironically.
Yeah.
Yeah. I get people send me stuff sometimes and go, what do you think? This is how, you know, we just come out of the studio and we've done this. And I go, take all the reverb off. And they go, why? And I said, it sounds like you're playing in different rooms and in fact different states, possibly even different countries, you know, like you just take it off, you don't need it.
Yeah.
And they're going, but it makes it sound full. And I go, no, it makes it sound like everyone's really far away and like you're not together at all. And they take it off and they play and write back and go, oh fuck, it sounds like a band now. And I go, well, yeah, because it sounds like you're playing together, you know. Yeah. And yeah, that's quite common, I find.
Yeah.
You know, that again, going back to that latest record, the young engineer goes, oh, I've got this great plugin and it will do this. I'm going, I don't care. And he's like, but it's really good. And I go, I don't care. And he goes, but why? And I go, because it sounds great as it is.
Yeah.
Like, seriously, we did so little thing, sometimes a little bit of work on a kick, if he was, because the kick and the double bass and the brushes and the slapping of the bass could get a little bit competitive. So we just soften, you know, the kick maybe with a bit of EQ and lift up the snare a bit, or depending on where he was on the neck of the double bass and where the piano was, sometimes we'd soften or brighten something. But most of the time we spent, like he'd come around the day and I go, oh, okay, I've been listening to it all night and I've got the stereo imaging all written down, you know, and so put that there, put that there, put that there. And he goes, oh, you can't put the snare right over there on the left. And I'm going, why not? He goes, because that's not where it belongs. He goes, for this song, that's where it belongs. And I go, listen. And he goes, yeah, it sounds good, but you can't do that. And I'm going, why not? And to him, there's no precedent. And I go, have you ever listened to Harvest by Neil Young? He goes, no. I go, don't argue with me anymore. Go home and listen to that and come back and tell me what you think. And he's like, God, the drums are so raw. And I go, yeah, I know, they're great, aren't they? And he goes, yeah. And the snare's right over there and the hi-hats are there. And I go, yeah, yeah. And he goes, didn't know you could do that. And I'm going, what the fuck did they teach you at school?
Yeah.
He goes, well, nothing like this. And so then, you know, next song, can we put the snare over there? And again, I go, no, we've already done that. This song, you know, this is going to go there, that's going to go there, and that's going to go there. And, you know, and it was essential, especially with the horns, because they take up a lot of room. And you don't want to just squish them and bung them away somewhere. I wanted them to be like they're sitting right in front of you, going, but somehow you can still hear the rest of the band. So that was all about position. Yeah. Over EQ, no reverbs, no nothing to push something forward and stuff. It was just all about panning.
Yeah.
And that was great fun, you know. And as much as I say I like the immediacy of a quick recording, that's probably the most effort I've ever put into a post-production. And it was mainly designed to not have any post-production.
I guess that's the trick with it, is if you make it seem like you didn't put in any effort.
Yeah, that was
how much effort you put
hard because you just naturally want to fuck with things, you know.
Yeah.
And you know, because if you go, oh, can we put reverb on that song? I'm going, and we got to Dare to Be Different. And I said, okay, you can get out a plate for this one. He's like, oh, really? And I'm going, and he's like, why? And I said, because there's only the piano, and I want a really lonely sax, and I'm crooning, so a nice bit of reverb. We can do it, but when the rest of the band comes in, we have to fuck it off. And you know, I've got tremolo on. I played one guitar. I think 2 tracks had tremolo guitars. That was, I ran my resonator through my little Roland Cube thing and just put on tremolo, you know. And the rest of it's pretty natural, you know. Sometimes most of the guitars are acoustic guitars, like a resonator and an old 1938 Cromwell archtop. And some concessions I made RE plugins is we get a vintage model amp and position a mic wherever we wanted, just to crisp it up a bit and give it a bit of edge and a bit of distortion. That's it, but still no verbs, no. I think the only other song we put a bit of reverb on is some ghost vocals on Cross That Line itself. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and the rest just it's pretty much straight. Yeah. And yeah, like after all that time, he goes, I've just realized it's all about the musicians, isn't it? And if you've got the right people, you don't really need to do anything except just put it together. And I'm like, yeah. Yeah. And he's going, I've learned so much. And I'm thinking, bad, you know, because, you know, I learned a lot of stuff from him with programming and stuff. And a lot of the time was learning what I don't want, you know, because he say, look, this is really cool. And I go, yeah, hate it, don't want it, you know. It's just, there's lots of ways to learn.
Yeah. And that's the thing I guess I love about music, is that it is such a collaborative effort. Ultimately, you're always learning, you know, even when you think you're not learning, you're picking up something. Yeah. And it's a beautiful process.
Yeah. And yeah, I hardly do any producing. I always sit in the production role, produce role of my own stuff. And I do a lot of stuff with Doll Squad because, well, my wife's band and I'm there and I go, they didn't have a bass player for a session. I go, oh, I'll play bass and have fun. Or I can drop a solo in, you know, just for fun. And that's nice. But, you know, and then we go to mix it and then you just make it sound like them. You know, it's like, well, now because I'm producing it, it's got to sound like X or it's got to sound like whatever else project I've been working on. It's like, got to make you guys sound as much like you as possible. And so, again, it's just not fucking with anything. Yeah. Because they've got the people there that make that sound. So I'm not going to go, well, yeah, now that they're gone, we'll just overdub everything or we'll put all this on it and do all that. And then they can come back and go, oh, how are we ever going to do this live sort of thing? That's always tricky. Yeah. So, yeah, because a lot of people say I'm a producer and then they make everything sound like them. You know, and that's fine. You know, it worked really well for Phil Spector.
Yeah, Trevor Horn's another one.
Yeah.
Those guys, I guess they developed a sound that sold.
Yeah, yeah.
So they were like, you know, I guess the company would have been like, do that again.
Yeah, yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, if I wrote a song that got picked up for an American commercial to do with yoga, of all things. And the first thing the publisher said is write another song like that. And I'm like, I don't even know how I wrote that one. it just came out. It took me about 5 minutes. I just went boom. And then I showed it to the band. I went, oh, yeah. And we happened to be set up to record. So we recorded it. Again, no real thought into it, but it just flows so easily. And it had such a natural hook. I put it on as a filler, and it made me more money out of any record, any song I've ever written or co-written.
I remember seeing your Facebook post when that happened, and you're like, I just got this, and I was like, fuck yeah, man.
Yeah, it was so bizarre.
Yeah. Which song was that?
It's called Make It Happen.
Make It Happen.
Yeah. And it's like, well, that's it, you know, it's like winning, it's just a lotto win.
Yeah.
Got aired during the Grammys and the Country Music Awards. And, you know, it's like, what an of all the songs. And it was 13 years after I wrote it that it happened. It just,
yeah,
self-fulfilling destiny. Make it happen. And it took a while, but it did.
Now you are forever tied to yogurt.
Yeah.
Did you ever think in your early days, did you ever think one day I'm going to sell a lot of yogurt?
No, not in my wildest dreams. And I out of loyalty, I did buy a fair bit of bloody airplanes. I got sick to death of it. They're taking the cornstarch out. Yeah. I didn't even know they put cornstarch in it until the commercial came out. Yeah, bizarre. You know, that's the happy story. The sad story is the same song almost got picked up by Adidas. Very shoe commercial.
Wow.
And that was worth double the other one.
Yeah.
And it got to do, oh, you're in the final 10 selection. And I'm like, oh, that's good. And then it's final 8. And I say, oh, this is getting really good. But I'm not gonna get my hopes up. I said, oh, down to 5 now, in the final 5. And well, please don't keep telling me. Just wait till it happens or doesn't happen, and it's down to 2. And I'm going, for fuck's sake, if it's down to 2, drop the price. Yeah, just drop. I want the thing. Drop the price, and then he goes, you know, you lost out. And I'm like, oh, fuck. You know, it was really annoying. And he goes, yeah. And I said, well, whose song did they use? And they said, oh, they decided to go with the Kinks. And I was like, oh, well, fair enough.
Yeah, that's
going to be beat. At least it was by someone, you know, with a real name, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you can be proud of that.
So I got that close.
Yeah, no, that's wild, man. Oh. So I was gonna ask, what did you make of Nirvana?
In Nirvana?
Nirvana, the band.
I just thought Credence already did the flannelette shirts.
He did that, yeah. It was very much the John Fogerty vocal, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's
yeah.
I didn't mind the Teen Spirit song, but I didn't really look. I'm not big on listening to music overall. I mean, specifically, like you know, if it comes on the radio and I hear it, I hear it. If it doesn't, I don't care. You know, you know, when I stopped listening when we really started writing a lot. I stopped really paying much attention.
Yep.
You know, because I used to love things like the Lust for Life album and Berlin and there was stuff, and I've always been mad about the 60s stuff, but yeah, as it moved into the 70s and the 80s, especially the 80s, I didn't like so much of it. you know, like all those horrible bands like Flock of Seagulls and those horrible Rick Astley fucking things. I just thought, you know what? I'm never going to turn the radio on again, you know.
Yeah.
Unless it's some sort of oldies station. In fact, when the guy wanted to be the guy I've got who's my publisher now, Peter Patterson, he came round to my place and he was scared because he'd seen me in X and he thought, oh, I'm going to be horrible and nasty. But he's got to come around and pitch a deal to me. And I was talking to him the other day and he goes, you know, I was still thinking about that. And I walked in and you were listening to 2CH. And 2CH in Sydney then is playing songs from the 30s, 40s, 50s, and the occasional song of the 60s.
Mm.
And you made scones and tea. He said it was the last thing I expected, you know, and I just didn't know what to say. I said, but we struck a deal.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so now my radio station on the big sound sort of system is always set to ABC Jazz.
Yeah, right.
It just starts, and it's because they go, oh, it's 2:00. That means I've got time to have a nap and then tidy up the house before the missus gets home. So I've got time to do this, or now I should remember to go up the shops or whatever. It's my alarm. Sometimes, you know, something really good will come on. I'll just think, oh, that's nice, and I just listen to it.
Mm.
Time I find it is more annoying than not.
Yeah.
But you know, I just in the 80s and stuff, Ian Ryland, he used to listen to a lot of things. He'd come and go, I heard the song and I want to do one like it. And I think, well, just as well I haven't heard it because I've got no idea what he wants. And he'd start playing something and then I'd do whatever. And I think that saved us.
Yeah.
In a lot of ways. But with the Nirvana thing, and they did that Unplugged, man. What's it, Man Who Sold the World and stuff?
Yeah.
It's all right, but I grew up with the David Bowie version of it. Nothing beats that as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, right.
That whole Man That Sold the World album was so heavy.
Yeah.
You know, like the first metal album almost, you know, it was so heavy.
Yeah.
And I just thought, yeah, that's interesting. It's nice, but it hasn't got a patch on the original. Then that's about all I thought about it. And then all the shit went down. And
Yeah.
but it's not being egotistical, but I'm not that interested in anything that I'm not actually doing myself, because otherwise there'd be no point in me doing it.
Mm.
You know what I mean?
No, I get that. I found like I became really enamored with Nirvana. When I first heard them, and I first heard Teen Spirit, I just went, another Seattle band. I'm not interested. I didn't get into them at all until I heard their first album, Bleach.
Right.
I heard them in their raw form. And I was like, okay, I get
Now
this.
you get it, yeah.
But I've noticed that when I am listening to a lot of music, like I seem to go through cycles. I'm listening or I'm putting music out, you know, creating.
Yeah.
When I'm listening to a lot of music, I don't have those just moments of like, oh, there's a song. And I've just, like, I seem to write songs in an instant because it just appears.
Yeah.
Inside, and then I go, right, let's put that out there.
Yeah.
Let's get it down on tape.
Yeah. Yeah. I've written songs though, you know, and thought, what the fuck did I write that? And it's just because it kind of wanted to be written.
Yeah.
And you just think, oh, okay. And sometimes, you know, it might take ages and then you go, oh, and the penny drops and you think, oh, you relate it to whatever was happening around you at that time that subconsciously must have been creating some sort of fuss. It manifests and pops out of your head as a song, and there it is.
Yeah.
I love that stuff. You know, like, you know, you read stories about someone like Nick Cave going into an office and writing songs from 9 to 5. I can't think of anything more boring and absolutely soul destroying.
Yeah.
Comes up with some cool shit, but yeah, not me. No. I can go 6 months without writing a song, and you know, I might think, oh, geez, it's been a while. Wonder what's going on or what's not going on, and then there'll be a spate, and I'll write, you know, 6 or 8 or 10, 12 at once. My wife came in the other day, Joey, and she said, "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm writing out some lyrics for." And she goes, "Oh, have you got a new song?" I'm actually writing out 3 sets of lyrics for 3 different songs.
Yeah.
How are you doing that? And I'm going, I just don't talk, because they're all talking to me at once, and I've got 3 books open, and right there, down there, and I'm over here, and it's like, oh, God, does that make sense? And am I getting them mixed up? Oh no, they're all good.
Yeah.
Totally different songs. You know, like one will be like a Dixie funeral march. One's like an old 30s Noel Coward kind of song, and the other one's, well, no, it's 4 songs actually, and there's 2 kind of more soul-based songs.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, that was a fucking effort. I don't want to have to do that again. But and then I realized that they'd all been kicking around in my head for ages.
Yeah.
Bits of them would come out, and I'm just sitting around fumbling around with the guitar. And then they all decided to coalesce at the same time. It was, or coagulate maybe. But they came together in one form or another, and it was like, and I had to be right then and there, otherwise I would have lost it.
Yeah.
It was a real mental thing, you know. It was like, oh no, never again.
Yeah.
This really fucked me up.
I find that like when a song just comes like that, it's almost a spiritual experience. It's like it's a possession from some, you know, it's like something from another world is going, here's this song.
Yeah. People say, oh, I was channeling, and you think, yeah, channeling, that's possible. I don't know, but maybe there are different arenas that these things come from. Maybe there is divine intervention or inspiration that goes, this little light shines upon you, go, oh, and there's the song. But I think more often it comes just from somewhere deep down in your brain.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Bubbles up and goes pop, like in meditation or something. You're not meditating, you're just going about your average shit, but somehow it finds its way and goes, let me out.
Yeah.
You go, okay, hopefully you got the time and space. There's nothing worse than, like, when I wrote This Mother's Son, that's on the album, I was walking home from the bottle shop thinking it'd be good to do a song about booze, because I love booze. I love my whiskey, and I was looking forward to getting home and drinking it. And I was remember thinking, oh yeah, goddamn to sobriety. And I thought, oh, that's a good line for a country song. And as I'm walking along, the melody sort of appeared, and then the words started coming. And I think, oh, yeah, I've got to get home, and all I can do is walk. There's no buses, and stuff. And walking along, thinking, oh, yeah, remember the words, the melody, and then oh fuck, I've got to pick up a guitar and get the chords. And do I write the words down first, or so I'm playing chords and trying to do the 2 things at once? And yeah, and there it was, and it's like, yay! Now run down to the studio, played it, and thought, oh, harmony would be nice, through saying the 2-part, 3-part harmony or something, and instant. I love that.
Yeah.
But some songs can take forever.
It's impossible to define what the creative process is, really.
It's It's sublime.
Yeah.
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 Well, yeah. I'll tell you, I had one grandfather that was a police inspector. My other grandfather used to be a sleight of hand magician, among other things.
Wow.
And when I was really little, it just used to stun me. He was so good, and I just think, oh, it's like he can do magic, like this is real magic. This is real. He could just do stuff that, he used to do on stage and stuff before he got sick of it. And then one day he said, oh, you're probably old enough to learn now. And I'm going to learn what? And he goes, learn how to do the magic. And I'm like, but why? And he goes, well, so you can do it. And I go, but if you show me how you do it, it just becomes a trick and the magic's gone. And he said, yeah, but you can do the tricks. You can make it look like magic. And I'm thinking, no. To the day I die, I just want to remember you as being able to do magic. I don't want to know any tricks. I don't want to know it. Never ask me again, and which is pretty good for 12, I think. And I'm glad, I'm glad that I didn't learn it, and then it become a discipline or something that I couldn't enjoy anymore.
Yeah.
And that's like, if you knew where the music was coming from, it wouldn't be that music anymore. It would be a construct that has been put together artificially to make you think something has happened. I'd rather die than know where it came from. I mean,
this is what's kind of disturbing about the way music and art in general is going. Like, there's this new AI bot that you can tell it what to paint, and it paints it.
Yeah.
Okay, but there's not a lot of soul in it, and they're doing the same with lyrics and music,
copyright.
Yeah.
All this AI can write an advertisement for you. Well, so can I, or so can some other guy. Why are you putting them out of a job?
Yeah.
Idiot fucking computer programmer, like, fuck him and his AI. It's
right. Yeah.
Why are people so intent of putting people out of work? It's not like if no one has a job anymore, there'll be this utopia where everyone walks around and stuff's for free. It'd be people that can't program a fucking computer will be a novelty that, maybe in some little mini archetypal village where there's a blacksmith and, archetypes and stereotypes. Is just,
yeah.
AI is just a horrifying concept. I hate it.
Yeah, it's scary.
Yeah.
I think that's adding to the division in the world quite clearly. They want to create something. They want to feel like this kind of godlike thing of, I've created this and it's sentient.
Yeah, it's just Frankenstein revisited, isn't it?
It is. Yeah.
Modern Prometheus. It's, I am God because I have created life. You can do that by knocking someone up. A lot easier.
It's more fun.
It's a lot more fun too, yeah.
Yeah, so our message to all you computer programmers programming AI, go out and get laid.
Yeah, you can get your rocks off.
Yeah.
Ignite a woman, share the responsibility and the joy of being a parent. The trauma and the worry and the grief and the joy, the triumphs and stuff. It's, why would you want to substitute that? It boggles my mind.
It is an insanity. It's that whole thing has become the new religion. Like
well, that's what science has always wanted.
Yeah.
And it's no more generous or cruel than the religious versions of God. Science doesn't give a fuck about anyone, really.
Yeah.
So it is for the sake it is. And in the hands, whoever is behind the science is taken to decide to do with it whatever they want. You know, it's just replacing one fucked up idea with another. There's still people that are deciding what God is telling them, whether it's the AI or it's the microbe or the genetic friggin' mutation or whatever. Well, you know, I think it's fucked up.
Yeah, I got into this with Steve Hughes in the first podcast I did with him. And yeah, it goes so deep. Like, and when you get into comparing nature to the man-made, the science, there's no comparison.
No.
Nature's so far ahead of us.
Yeah, and we're just trying to copy it. We're trying to improve it. And what the fuck do we know? We've been around for what? 70,000, 80,000 years, maybe, allowing for a bit of error.
Yeah.
So, well, yeah, and we want to tell nature what to do.
Nature will fight back.
Dinosaurs lasted for millions of years. I don't think we're going to last for millions of years.
Where are we going?
No, I know. Well, yeah, it's what do we think we're doing?
Yeah, it is a crazy time to be alive. I mean, we're at the infancy of all of this. We're just saying, like, as long as it's been going with science, the science is in their form now. It's been around like 300 years, whereas nature's been around like millennia.
Yeah,
No, we can do better.
How old's the world supposed to be? I can't remember. It's such a big number that it doesn't make sense.
Yeah,
you know.
Years.
And they say, "Oh, the sun's 50 billion years old or something." You say, or computers or your reasoning, yes, maybe, but
yeah,
maybe not. I just saw a thing the other day with the stuff that's coming in from that the James Webb telescope. They're starting to make the Big Bang Theory look like it's flawed, seriously.
Yeah, right.
There are galaxies so far out that they should be huge now because of the expanding universe thing, but they're not, and they can't explain why they're not. It's just because they just, but they're there. They can't deny that they're there, and so they're going, might have to rewrite the Big Bang.
Wow.
Apparently, the Big Bang theory wasn't loved by a lot of scientists anyway because it sounded a bit godly anyway. Although it was this Big Bang, or in the beginning there was light, then there was sound, or with Buddhism, I think it might have been sound and then light. I don't know. I've read a lot of shit, and sometimes it'll get mixed up. But yeah, it's. I mean, does it matter?
Well, that's it. Yeah, when I hear those big numbers, like the universe is, 47, however billion years old it is, I'm like, I'm 50.
Yeah, not even a blink. I mean, it's so short that it doesn't exist on a time scale, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love the way Dylan Moran put it. He said, science, it's really hard to believe in because it's so disappointing. Like, what's the explanation? There was a big bang and we all came from monkeys.
Yeah. Yeah, in a nutshell, that's pretty much it, isn't it?
Yeah.
Once you get started thinking about it, they talk about computer modeling and stuff like that. No computer can spit out thousands of variations on what you put into it, but someone still is going to pick the one that's going to benefit who the most? Themselves.
Yeah.
Generous, oh, we'll do one. This one's very benevolent. Let's go with this one. It's like, oh, no, if we did this one, we could control the output of this and that, and then we'll make a lot of money. I'm pretty sure that one always wins.
Yeah, the money ones, they do well.
Yeah.
It's a funny thing.
Yeah. Well, good luck to them. I hope they're happy.
Yeah.
Well, no, I don't actually. I hope they're miserable. They'll never know real happiness.
Oh, that reminds me of Tim and Debbie. Debbie's going, I saw these people driving down the street and he had the model girlfriend and he had a yacht in the back. And I mean, are they really happy? Are they really happy? And Tim goes, well, they look pretty happy to me, Debbie.
Yeah. Yeah. But, you know, there's different kinds of happiness.
Yeah. Happiness is something you generate.
Yeah, I think when people see me and Joey walking around the street together or sitting in the bar together, we look pretty happy. And we pretty much mostly are.
Yeah.
You know, everyone's got something that bothers them. Like, you know, if you've got a house, you're continually having to patch it, remodel it, or replace something because it's fucked.
Yeah.
You don't have a house, you're constantly having to find rent and hope that you don't get booted out. I mean, just some people say that more possessions should have, the more weighted down you are, and I certainly feel like that sometimes. Like, I used to think I'd never have more than 2 guitars, and now I don't know how many I've got.
Yeah.
Because the different ones speak to you differently. You pick one up and you just think, oh my God, this feels beautiful. And then it starts to talk to you, you know, you think, oh, I'm going to have to take it home. And then it's like having a harem. You just think, oh, well, I'm ignoring one over there. I better give it a bit of attention. So you're constantly walking around trying to keep all these guitars happy and loved and stuff. And it's like, God, how do sultans do it with women? God, that'd be a hard job.
That would be tough.
Yeah.
Nigh on impossible, I'd say.
Oh, yeah. And you answer, are they really happy? Do they not worry if they're comparing notes? You know, like, you know.
Yeah.
Goes on in the minds of all those people. You don't know.
That's it. That is it.
Mm.
All right, man. We've done a couple of hours.
Yeah, it was a lot of stuff.
So we end it there.
The time release thing.
Yeah. And this has been awesome, man. Thank you so much for doing this.
No, I love it. I love talking to people. It's fun.
Yeah.
Especially when you're just random talking, you know, like something comes up and you just go, oh, well, yeah, I've got an opinion on that.
Organic conversation is best.
It is. And that's what I worry for. I think for the future, that's what I worry about. The loss of the art of conversation.
Yeah.
That scares me more than a lot of things.
Yeah.
People don't know how to talk to each other any more than we're lost.
It's everything. Social media is such a brutal beast that it's really killing off a lot of that.
Yeah, it's like antimatter.
Yeah.
I don't know, I can't remember who said it. But it might have been Byron or someone like that said language is what separates us from the beasts.
Mm.
And it's true, you know, without language, we're just glorified monkeys, you know, with automobiles and electricity and stuff, you know.
Yeah.
It's not very flattering.
It's not the most flattering. I do wonder what monkeys would do with social media. It'd probably be awesome.
Yeah.
They definitely have OnlyFans.
Well, it's I got a warning from Facebook because someone had put up a picture of a woman who had had the oldest cosmetic surgery done to look like Marilyn Monroe. She looked nothing like Marilyn Monroe. And I just said, well, I think the people that did that should be horsewhipped. And I was cautioned for using violent language. And I thought, horsewhips just, it's not actually meaning take a whip and whip them like a horse. It's just these days an expression that is sort of, well, I thought lost its meaning over time. And it's just like they should be chastised.
Yeah. Yeah.
It said chastised. It would have meant nothing.
Yeah.
So my mind at that stage, I was thinking of Groucho Marx in Horse Feathers or something, or some movie, and he's like, oh, it should be horsewhipped, and and it's funny.
Yeah.
In that context. But if you're not thinking of Groucho Marx at the time, and I think I got the connection because Marilyn Monroe was in a movie with Groucho Marx, and I think, well, he would say horsewhipped.
Yeah.
Said it. And there's like, you've breached our community standards with this, talk of violence and blah, 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 blah. And you are now cautioned and restricted. And like, oh, for horsewhipped?
Yeah, that's crazy. I think there's like two kinds of people on social media. The people, you get a warning and you go, I don't want that to happen again. I will curb my language and watch what I say. As I know me, as soon as I get a warning, I'm like, right, as soon as I'm out of Facebook jail, I'm going to post the worst shit ever.
I do go out of my way to avoid profanity on Facebook because I don't know who's going to read it. And also I like language. So I like words and the rhythm of words and stuff like that. But when that happens, I just feel like writing, Facebook, you fucking cunt, fucking bastard, and just everything I can think of, just to blurt it out and get, yeah, and ban me, I don't care,
Yeah.
But then I'm walking into the trap,
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
No, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to be really clever. The next time I say something really derogatory, they'll have to really, really, really think about it.
But they've set themselves up in this parental role.
Yeah.
It's insulting.
Well, it's insane because, well, when my wife and I did a cover of Je t'aime, we thought, because, I was 60 at the time and she would be in her 40s. And we thought, well, we're going to do a mock-up of the Jane Birkin and Serge Gainsbourg cover, thumbs out sort of thing, naked, and we sort of, as a send-up, and also, so what, we're getting old, but, we still, can dig each other and stuff. So puts it up and everyone's saying, oh, that's a lovely photograph or whatever. And I put it up and I got banned from Facebook. And then with a heavy restriction for 6 months for being lewd, posting lewd photographs. My wife, it's still up there. They blocked my Bandcamp page. So I had to, on the Bandcamp thing, change the name of it and then put censored across the bottom,
Holy shit. Oh, that's absurd.
It was absurd. And because the double standards were so transparent, you could go from one page to the other.
Yeah.
Well, go to mine because it was banned.
Yeah.
Hey, my husband's page is banned because of this photograph. And everyone's like, why? But someone on my page took umbrage at it.
Yeah.
Maybe it was an ex or something. I don't know.
That's the thing. You never know who's reporting you.
Don't know. And then, they put out all these things. See who's been looking at your Facebook page. Oops. Oh, I've lost you.
You lost me?
Oh, no, I've just lost your image.
Ah.
But I bumped my mouse. But I can still hear you, so I can keep talking.
Oh, sweet.
But it's just stupid. It's just stupid. Because, I mean, I set my profile to public because I want to talk to people. So people are going to be looking at my page. So who does it matter who's looking at my page?
Yeah.
And if it is Anarchy X or whatever, well, then so what? You know, I'm usually pretty respectful to people I've been involved with. Because God knows I'm not perfect by any stretch.
That's the thing that worries me about it. It's like none of us are perfect. We all have flaws, and that's what makes us, you know, unique and interesting. And that's how we learn, by discussing these things and saying, you know, well, but Facebook is just like, no, you must be well behaved at all. It's like we're all out to dinner or something with our parents. And
yeah, it's
not real.
No, it's. I mean, if it really is like hate speech, kind of really high level abuse, then you know I can see a point to it to a degree. But I mean, when we were young people, we fought hard against censorship. You know, you go in and do a radio interview, and there'd be "Don't say fuck" on air. You know, and I thought, oh, sometimes I thought, yeah, that's fair enough, and sometimes I thought, oh, well, first thing I'm going to say is fuck. I saw that sign, fuck that, because people are contrary bastards. You know, it's just how we're made.
Yeah.
So yes, maybe there will be an overcorrection the other way at some stage, or someone will start up a new platform that says, you know, you can say whatever you want. We don't give a shit, whether it's hateful or not. I don't know.
Well, that's it. I mean, I get it. Like, I have no idea what it must be like to be running, you know, an international social media platform, because you go on some other sites where people can say whatever they want, and a lot of those, the people saying whatever they want are completely anonymous, so they are just saying the worst things possible to get a reaction. And it's like, well, that's not useful either. You know, but
of people, quoting Mike Tyson, about social media was people can say whatever they want because they know I'm not going to smack him in the head, sort of thing. You know, like there's no consequence. You know, you can just literally slag off anyone, and if you did that to their face, well, yeah, you might get a slap or a boot in the ass or something, but consequence, it's a deathly trap, that one.
You know, go on, sorry.
Well, I was going to say, in my family, the C word is not the obvious one. The C word is consequence. Nice. And especially with my daughter when she was little, and she said, "Oh, I'm sick. I don't want to go to school today." Yeah, okay. But you got to be aware of the consequence. And she goes, "What's consequence mean?" And then I explain it to her. And oh, well, okay. Oh, you know, say, well, you're going to have twice as much homework tomorrow. You won't see your friends. You don't know what you're going to miss, you know. So, but if you really see you can stay home, but if you just don't want to go to school, just say, I don't want to go to school today. But think about it. Think about the consequences, and I'll back you 100%. And you know, it didn't take long before you say, "Oh, I don't feel like I'm just going." And I go, "Well," and she goes, "Don't say the C word. Don't say the C word." And you say that in front of people, and they'd be going, "What's he saying to his daughter?" You know, I'm going, "It's consequence. C word is consequence."
That's very funny, dude.
She sent me a message from New York, where she lives now. When she first went over there to uni, she got a partial scholarship into Columbia, and she said, "I go to you know, uni parties and stuff like that," and she said, "And I'm meeting people that I understand now who have never been taught the C word." And I'm like, "Oh, really?" And she goes, And I had to write to you and tell you just to thank you for doing that. So I'm not like one of these people. They don't care about anything they say or do. They have no consideration or respect for anything that anyone else might think, say, or feel. And it's because their parents never gave them any form of discipline. You know, they're not aware of anything. Consequence does not enter into their thought process on any level.
Yeah.
It's really horrifying.
Wow.
She didn't say there are hundreds of them, but she said, you and you know them, you know.
Yeah. I'm quite impressed with a lot of young people that I see online that are very into taking responsibility now, and they're like, you know, like they really dissect a lot of behavior of, well, other young people often, but where they're like, well, this person is just, you know, they're acting like an idiot and they're going to pay down the line.
Yeah.
But a lot of them are very aware and they're very impressive.
Yeah, and because instead of saying, "Oh, you're gonna cop it later on," they'll go to great pains to explain is that their attitude is wrong. Which because like everything, there's two sides to everything.
Yeah.
I always end up banging on about the duality of nature because I just think that's it. The yin and yang, whatever you want to call it, good, evil, but it's just opposites.
Yeah.
You know, basic physics, every action, science, every action has an equal opposite reaction. That's one that you can easily test, you know.
Yep.
But that happens, socially, it happens mechanically, it happens in every way possible. It's just one of those things.
Yeah.
But as much as there is that vacuous, self-obsessed young person, there is that really considerate, almost overthinking, very kind, very tolerant person that's willing to explore the reasons why someone else is being like what we call a dickhead.
Yeah.
Would never say, "Oh, being a dickhead," you know, like pull your head in or, you know,
yeah,
stuff like that. You know, it's because I see it with my own nieces and nephews. You know, they have a totally different way of going about things. But it's cool.
Yeah. It's interesting that a lot of the I mean, I don't know, to define it as bad behavior, but it is a lot of the bad behavior is amplified through things like TikTok and social media and whatnot.
But it's always been the way. It's people are always willing to hear the worst about someone. People are always willing to sort of laugh at the misfortune of someone else, which is Barry Humphries said nicely. What made him a good comedian was his ability to laugh at the misfortune of others. You know, this is a kind way of putting it. But
that's great.
There's but there's lots of different things. I mean, and popular trends can be very misleading because it might only be a minority of people sharing them, but because they're being shared, it looks like a lot more than what it perhaps is. You know, I don't really know.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever done anything. Well, I know I've never done anything that's gone viral, so I don't know what it means to go viral, and I'm in no hurry.
Yeah. Well, you never know it could be something really bad.
Well, viral to me has always been something that makes you sick. So
it's something
that's going viral, you're going to have to pay for it somewhere along the line, I think.
Yeah. Well, the old joke was like, I went viral. Well, you get to a doctor.
Yeah. Yeah, get a shot of penicillin. Yeah.
I know that I had an interesting experience. Like I don't use TikTok, but I went on it just to see what it was. And I put up a few posts and I kind of did an experiment because I'd heard that the algorithm in the West if you do something really stupid, or you do a dance, or you look goofy or whatever, you'll get promoted in the West. In China, however, what's promoted is young people doing engineering and doing, yeah. And like, that is what's promoted. So I put up a couple of videos where, I was just being goofy, telling jokes. They got a bunch of views. Then I put up one that was like, wasn't actually my video. I got it off something else, but it was basically a bit of home engineering. And this person had made an automatic bubble machine with a coat hanger and a fan and a bucket of soapy water. And it was amazing. And it got 0 views. And then my next video, I called TikTok out on that.
Yeah.
Not only got no views, I actually got a strike for it. And they said, yeah, you can't say that stuff on TikTok.
Wow.
So it's scary.
Yeah. Well, this is AI and bots doing their work, isn't it? Rhythms and things. It's yeah. It is scary.
It is. It's crazy.
I've thought about going on other things, and I just thought it's just more things to worry about. I remember when MySpace was great, and then MySpace went weird, and everyone went to Facebook, and so then there's TikTok, and there's Twitter, and there's Instagram, and there's God knows how many things out there now. And so, could you imagine if you were on all of them, how much of your day would be wasted just trying to be noticed?
Yeah.
Is that important to be noticed by that many people who don't know you? When I got asked once about fame, and I'm a great one for literary comments that I can't remember who wrote them, but the response was from this person about being famous. They said, if 100 people know about you that you've never met, you were famous. Say this is like in 1800 and something. That was fame. You were known beyond your normal sphere of social activity.
Yeah.
And so therefore you would have had to do something of note, either horrendous or brilliant or whatever, heroic perhaps, but people go, oh, and the legend travels, So if you're using that as a yardstick, then yeah, I have fame. But compared to some twit that does something really stupid and it goes viral, okay, well, that has to be famous, but is it worthy of fame? And getting back to the secret to success is sometimes a lack of it, is that it's good to be known for something, and to and get associated with something that's called legendary, not in the you went up the road and got some chips, man, that you're a legend. That is not a legend. That's going up the road and getting some chips, I'm
going to write ballads about that.
That's just real day-to-day mundane shit. Doing an album in 3.5 hours that, becomes part of a country's recorded history and is revered and admired around the world. Now, that is legendary, considering it's never been released by a major label or anything. Now, different things. So yeah, fame and viral and all that stuff. $3 and that, and you can get yourself a cappuccino. Well, you're flat out getting a cappuccino for $3 these days, anyway.
Yeah,
not even. Not worth shit, I don't think.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's all about cashing in on the fame now
Yeah.
and how you can monetize that. But
Yeah.
that in itself is tricky. But what you say about the different platforms, I've like one of my friends asked me to put get my stuff on Spotify, which I'm still working on, but that's just so it can be just the audio. Then someone else said, "Oh, you should go over to Rumble." So like now this is going to be on YouTube and Rumble mainly, and I'll put it on a website, and you know that's kind of pretty much all I can handle.
Yeah. You know, I think, I mean, but it's stupid because every day someone will invite you to like a group or a page or something, and you know, and you think, oh, yeah, I like that, but you know that there's so many hundreds and hundreds of things, that groups that you're a member of, that you can't even remember what groups you're a member of.
Yeah,
Don't have the time to daily or even once a week or once a month go and visit each one of them. I mean, it's ludicrous in a way, and then you find yourself doing it and think, why am I doing this? Because it's only going to end up in someone's thing where they've already got hundreds of these things and they're just being polite, you know.
yeah,
It's nothing wrong with being polite, but you know, if you start thinking that it means much more than being polite, then maybe there's an element of delusion sort of creeping into your thinking. So yeah, I try to be, you know, I try to say something only when I really have something to say, and not to do it too many times in a day, let alone a week, or a week and let alone a day, I mean, and just, you know, try and make it relevant. Okay, you know, I've had the 40th anniversary of the Tote and X playing. I had to, well, I didn't have to, but I felt obliged to promote it because people were guaranteeing me a lot of money to do the gig, so that I better make sure someone turns up. So I shall now use social media in that sense, but it's not often. I'll make a poster for a gig and go, you know, there's the poster, share it if you want to. I don't care. You know, I'm going to be there anyway. And about as much as I'll engage, unless there's something big to it, like a launch, or next time I do the Rising Tide record, the Cross the Line thing, when I've got the whole horn section and special guests, yeah, I'll give that some boosts and I'll pump that. But you know, most of the time, I just want to express a thought that may have been sparked by someone else that I've heard walking down the street, or a passing comment on a feed, and it might set off a chain of thoughts, and think, yeah, I'm going to address that, and then I'll address it, and so be it. You know.
yeah.
That's it. It's, you know, kids go, you should try and monetize a YouTube thing, and I'm going, why? Then I'm going to be obliged to it. Now I have to feed it and nurture it, and I spend more time looking after that shit instead of doing what I'm supposed to do, and that's, you know, be a musician and be a songwriter and stuff. You know, I'm not an entrepreneur in that way, and I really have no desire to be. I don't want to be making myself into a product, which is what you have to do.
Yeah, absolutely.
And some people are brilliant at it, and good luck to them, you know, but yeah, I can't even watch a video of myself without going, don't like that, you know. Can we just, you know, can turn the video off and just have the sound, you know, because I'm interested in the sound. I'm not interested in what I look like, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
People, you put a camera in front of them and they come alive. I just go, you know.
Yeah, I'm familiar with that feeling.
Yeah.
I got all right at making music videos, and especially ones that I'm not particularly in. They're my favorites.
Yeah.
And
I can understand that, you know.
yeah, but then I did some with me and it just goofing around, and a few with my girlfriend at the time back a while ago. And the part I have real problems with is promoting it,
Yeah,
like saying to other people, "Hey, watch this, it's great."
I know.
Like, watch it if you want, listen if you want, if you like it, that's great. But
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, I know. There's a certain mentality. My wife's really good at it. I go, how can you do that? And she goes, well, no point in having a video if you're not going to push it. And I think, well, do you have a point?
that's the thing. That's
But it's like, oh, I do it under pain, great pain. It's like, oh, I can't do it. And you think, I just won't look at the likes. I won't look at anything. And eventually it will go away.
This is why I think we need a crew around us, people like us, especially, because it's like, I'll do this bit, you take care of that, because there are people that are great at that. There are people that are great at the business. There's people that are great at the promotion. And I always feel better if someone else is doing all that, but I've just never had those people around me. So
Same, like we've had directors for X, like a director for a film clip, and it was like, they'll be doing something, go, oh, that was great. Can you do that again? Because we didn't catch it. You think, no, I can't do it again because I don't even know what I did. Like I was just, and they go, oh, you were just being yourself. And go, well, I've just been myself. Yeah. No, that's not what you did though. You go, but what did I do? And it just goes, ugh. And so you try to do it and it's so contrived.
Yeah.
Just stupid.
This is not planned. None of this is planned. Yeah. What about me makes you think anything is planned, Mr. Director?
I hate it. I get really self-conscious.
Yeah. It's fun to do though. I did a short film with a guy a while ago, a little bit of acting. Kind of the first few times I watched it, I was just cringing at myself, just going, ah. And after a while, I got a bit detached from it and started to look at it more critically and think, well, what would I do different? I guess that's what actors have to do.
Yeah, so actors do my head in. I just can't. I can't come at the concept of having that much fun pretending to be someone else. It's just like,
I can't understand making.
I love movies.
Money.
I love them, but I could never. I wouldn't want to be an actor. If someone said act, I'd just turn into a piece of wood. Yeah.
The thing about actors that absolutely kills me is that anyone listens to them ever.
What about anything else?
Yeah, because it's like this person is someone who's paid by people to say things.
Oh yeah, that's classic. Yeah. So why would you ever believe him? Because when and so look, I have friends that are actors, and sometimes I say to them, "How do I know that you're not acting now?" And they go, "Well, because I'm not." I go, "But how do I know?" You're an actor.
Yeah,
you all the time, for all I know, and for that matter, even though I'm not an actor, you couldn't say for sure whether or not I'm just acting out this whole conversation just to see what you'll say. Where does it start? Where does it end? I don't claim to be an actor. I couldn't. If you pointed a camera and said act, I would probably freeze. But if you pointed a camera and I didn't know about it, I might be incredibly animated, hysterically funny, and rather dashing or something. So people never know if you point a camera at me and say, "Be that thing," because I couldn't do it. They just go like a rabbit in headlights. No, sorry, can't do it.
Yeah.
I
really enjoy acting, but it's very foreign to me. It's something that it's one of those things. If I'd have gotten into it and stuck to it when I was much younger, maybe I could have done something with it. But and it is interesting to kind of separate from yourself, step outside and kind of imagine, how it's looking. And it's an interesting art form, but Yeah, I always come back to music. It's much
Yeah.
more direct.
When I was a kid, I was a class clown, right? You know, and I was always the first to be caned, always the idiot in the room with the smart ass comment, you know. And they were doing some production for the school play at the end of the year, Treasure Island or something, and it was an operetta. And, you know, I was always in choirs and stuff, so I could always carry a tune. But one of the teachers said, I've seen you interacting in the playground and you're quite the clown and, you know, very extroverted. So we want you to be this character in this thing. And as soon as I said that, I just thought, I'm funny. I'm extroverted. What is that? I thought, you know, I was really shy and I was hiding behind my shyness by being whatever.
Mm.
I thought no one was looking, but as soon as they said they were looking, it's like, nah, no, I can't do that on cue, you know. And it was very awkward. But it was in that one case, it ended up being fun because I was still a kid and I got over it. But no, it wouldn't even be fun. It would just be,
yeah.
And I know because just anytime I see a photo and go, "Do everybody look like that?" And someone go, "No," because normally when there's not a camera pointing at you, you actually look quite different. This is your camera thing that you think that you got to look like. I can't get it out of my head, you know.
Yeah.
So anyway.
Yeah.
I'm not looking for being a model for Calvin Klein or being an actor anyway. So I'm happy with my role.
Yeah.
And that's it.
I know that feeling though of just freezing up as soon as they're looking.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. It's crazy.
Yeah. I think being a porn star would be worst of all.
That would be tough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
That's
The mechanics of it, do my head in.
Yeah.
I've kept you talking for nearly 3 hours.
That's great, man. I love these long form conversations. Like you,
yeah.
Like I'm happy to keep going with these as long as they go. You know.
Yeah.
I don't want to tire people out either. And also, you know, I want you to come back and do another one day.
Oh yeah, no, I'd love to do another one for sure. Yeah, it's just I've got about 4 missed calls now.
Yeah, we should go and attend to other things.
Being responsible for other people in my life.
Yeah.
But yeah, this has been a blast. I've loved it. Yeah, gladly do it again.
Oh,
yeah.
Brilliant. Thanks, Steve. This has been brilliant talking to you finally, other than, you know, just interacting on Facebook. So,
Yeah.
Yeah. So thank you so much, brother.
No, that's all right. Well, let me know when you stick it up and I'll give it a plug.
Oh, that'd be brilliant.
Yeah.
Thanks, mate.
Oh, a pleasure.
Well, I better go and eat something.
Yeah, I'm getting hungry. My leg's gone to sleep, and I've had to put my phone on silent.
All right, buddy. Well, I'll talk to you again soon.
Okay, see you, Scott.
Love can be lonesome, babe, so hurtful and blue. So only the sweetest love, that's what I offer you. Wherever you wander, should ever you call, you know I'll be there for you, baby, body and soul. Well, life can be oh so hard, capricious and cruel, but if I know anything, baby, you're nobody's fool. You tend to be different, that's why I'm there for you, baby. Body and soul. Oh, baby, now. Ooh, yeah. Ooh, yeah, baby. Body and soul. All I want in life is here in your arms, giving me strength I need, keeps me safe, keeps me warm. Wherever life takes you,